Deep within the Taklamakan Desert of western China lies the Tarim Basin, one of the harshest and most desolate places on Earth. For decades, this region hid a secret that would eventually shock the world of archaeology. In the early 20th century, and more extensively in the 1990s, explorers began to find mummies buried in boat-shaped coffins. But these weren't typical mummies. They weren't wrapped in linen like the Egyptians or frozen like Otzi. These people were naturally preserved by the salty, dry sands. And when the sand was brushed away, the mystery deepened. They had red and blonde hair, high cheekbones, long noses, and they were dressed in vibrant wool tartans that looked like they belonged in ancient Scotland or Scandinavia rather than ancient China. The most famous among them is the beauty of Lulan, a woman who died nearly 4,000 years ago. Her features are so perfectly preserved that you can still see her eyelashes and the delicate weave of her clothing. She, along with others like the Xiahe princess, lived at a time when we previously believed East and West were completely isolated from one another. Their clothing was a masterpiece of ancient textile work. They wore felt hats, wool capes, and woven patterns that are almost identical to the Celtic plaids found in Europe. This wasn't just a coincidence, it was evidence of a highly advanced culture that possessed technology and aesthetic tastes that mirrored Western Europe, thousands of miles away. For years, the Tarim mummies were at the center of a fierce debate. Were they ancient Celts who wandered east? Were they lost Vikings? The political and historical implications were massive, as they suggested that Westerners reached the heart of Asia thousands of years before the official opening of the Silk Road. However, recent DNA studies have provided a twist that no one expected. In 2021, a massive genomic study revealed that these people weren't invaders from Europe. Instead, they were a direct, isolated descendant of a group called the Ancient North Eurasians, ANE, a population that largely disappeared at the end of the last ice age. This means they were a genetic island. They lived in the desert for thousands of years, maintaining their distinct European-like appearance while being surrounded by different cultures. They were the last survivors of a lost lineage of humanity. Even if they weren't direct migrants from Europe, their culture was a bridge. They were among the first people in the region to use cattle, sheep, and goats, and they were masters of wheat and barley cultivation, crops that originated in the West. Their burial sites are equally strange. They were buried in boats in the middle of a desert, covered with cow hides and marked with massive wooden poles. This suggests a culture that remembered the sea or great rivers, even while living in one of the driest places on the planet. The Tarim mummies prove that the ancient world was far more diverse and interconnected than our history books suggest. They show us that human migration is not a straight line, but a complex web of movements. These red-haired giants of the desert remind us that 4,000 years ago, the heart of Asia was a melting pot of different looks, languages, and technologies. They lived, loved, and died in the silence of the Taklamakan, waiting for thousands of years to tell us their story. Now that we have the technology to listen, we are realizing that the story of humanity is far more mysterious than we ever dreamed. If you're captivated by the hidden stories of lost civilizations and the science that unlocks our past, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We explore the world's most incredible archaeological mysteries and genetic secrets every single week. Join our community of explorers, subscribe now and click the bell icon. Tell us in the comments, how do you think these people survived in the desert for so long?